Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Planning and Development Committee meeting, today being Monday the 10th of April. We'll confirm that we are recording this meeting. So Council, the committee meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the Council or committee meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this committee meeting that you are respectful of other people and use appropriate language. AlburyCity accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this committee meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. Disclosures of political donations, we're not aware of any, and I'll hand over to the General Manager.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This advice to the committee relates to the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Section 147 requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. The disclosure statement forms are available on Council's website or from the Customer Service Centre and must be lodged in accordance with the Act. The forms are also available at the back of the Council chamber. In dealing with development applications, councillors need to take into account specific matters contained in the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Accordingly, the provisions of 79C1 of that Act are set out in the Council Officer's report detailing issues to be considered. The Local Government Act 1993, Section 375A requires that a division be called whenever a motion for a planning decision is put at a meeting of the Council or a Council committee. Planning decision means a decision in the exercise of a function of Council under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, including a decision relating to a development application, an environmental planning instrument, a development control plan or a development contribution plan under that Act, but not including the making of an order under Division 2A of Part 6 of that Act. Matters pertaining in the Planning Development Committee meeting minutes which require a planning decision to be made will be dealt with separately and immediately following the motion for the adoption of the Planning Development Committee meeting minutes. In respect to these matters, motions for a planning decision put before Council will be considered a division and recorded in accordance with Section 375A of the Local Government Act 1993. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll now move to apologies.
Deal with conflict of interest declarations as well.
Okay, the conflict, we need to go back to the conflict of interest declarations. I'm not aware of there being any. Thank you, Mr. General Manager. We'll go forward again to apologies. Apologies of committee members. I'm aware of two apologies. Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that the committee receive, note and accept the apologies of committee members Councillor G. Doxey and Councillor M. King and grant leave of absence for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And to second that, Councillor Thurley.
Second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll put that motion that we receive and note the apologies of Councillor Doxey and Councillor King and grant leave of absence. All those in favour? Anyone against? That motion is carried. We'll move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. That meeting was held on Monday the 13th of March and it was the Planning and Development Committee meeting. Councillor van der Ven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move that the committee recommends to Council that the minutes of the Planning and Development Committee meeting held on Monday 13th of March 2017 at 6 p.m. be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury to second.
I'd like to second that motion, please, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury. Councillor van der Ven, are you happy if I put those minutes?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor van der Ven. I'll put those minutes to the committee. All those in favour? Anyone against? That motion is carried. Matters arising from the minutes. There being no indication of matters arising from those minutes, we'll move on to the reports and minutes of committees and working parties. We had the minutes of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. I believe, Councillor Thurley, you are the chair of that?
Correct, Madam Chair.
Therefore, I'd like to move the committee recommends to council that the minutes and recommendations of the following committee be received, noted and accepted. That is, the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 28th of February 2017.
Thank you. And Councillor Con, to second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to second that.
Thank you for that. Councillor Thurley, as the mover of that recommendation as a motion, would you like to speak to that?
Only to note that it was the first meeting of the new committee, and it would seem to me, and I wonder whether Councillor Con would agree, that we have a particularly good committee and should be produce some good results for the city.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Noting there's no indication of anyone else wishing to ask or anyone wishing to ask questions, I'll now put those minutes to the committee. All those in favour? Anyone against? That motion is carried. We're now moving on to officers' reports for consideration. We have two, the Energy Saving Action Plan and Draft Leasing and Licensing of Council Property Policy. Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that committee recommends to council that council endorse the Energy Savings Action Plan 217 to 221 and consider the implementation schedule in conjunction with the 4-year budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And I note that we have the author this evening at the table, and that's Mr. Dudley. Councillor Van der Ven.
Happy to second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I'll just check. Right, yes, that is the recommendation. And the mover was Councillor Mack. Councillor Mack, we have a couple of questions from Councillors Con and Stutchbury. Would you like to open debate first or take those questions?
Happy to take the question.
Thank you. Councillor Con to ask a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to the relevant member of staff, who I believe is going to be Mr. Dudley. Just with regard to LED lighting, I was really pleased to read that there's a plan to upgrade the essential energy street lighting to LEDs in late 2018. And there's a comment about the further 7,500 unmetered street lights that belong to AlburyCity. I just wanted to confirm that those are planned for upgrade to LEDs as well.
Mr. Ferris to answer that question. Mr. Ferris.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, certainly we're working closely with Essential Energy about the changeover of the existing street lighting network, the public street lighting network, to LED at the earliest possible opportunity, and also with the private street lighting that we have around town. Certainly as we replace those fixtures, they'll be replaced with LED lighting as well.
Thank you. Councillor Con, did you have a follow-up for that, or are you happy with that?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stutchbury, you've got the next question, and then Councillor Van der Ven to ask a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the most appropriate member of staff. I note with this plan that there's a variety of tables are presented, and in most of them the capital spend and then the cost saving per year means that there's anything from 10 to 15 years of the cost saving per year to cover for the capital spend. But obviously we're also saving a lot of electricity, so that is not itself an issue, but most of these photovoltaics have a use by life, do they not? So is there some chance that by the time we've paid for or nearly paid for the capital spend after 10 or 15 years, we're starting all over again? Is this a true economy or a feel-good economy?
Mr. Dudley?
Thank you for the question. I'll address the question through the chair. Certainly we are aware of the payback in regards to PV, solar panels, photovoltaics. On average, there's generally a lifetime of about 20 years. Certainly we recognise now that in this PV delivery program that there's a whole of life assessment. Initially our assessment's on payback, and then also we look at the whole of life, and then we'll plan accordingly, say 10, 15 years to look at the replacement of such assets into the future.
Mr. Stutchbury, the doctors, Sorry, Councillor Stutchbury, you'd like to ask another question? Yes, indeed.
No, I'm happy with the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do apologise for...
They were all correct.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury. Next question, Councillor Van der Ven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's a couple of issues. First of all, if we go to the table on page 20 of 24 in the electronic copy of the Energy Savings Actions Plan, and there's an item there, high voltage tariff investigation multiple, and in water and wastewater high voltage tariff detail investigation at 65 grand in total. I'm just wondering whether that's not a double up, and if it's not, perhaps we could have had a bit more detail around the multiple. And the other issue is that the capital costs indicated there for the Albury Entertainment Centre Convention Centre is $775,000. Yet I note in our documentations, draft new initiatives 2017-21, that the cost estimate for that capital was a capital spend of 1.2 million. Are we going to which figure are we going to take? And that was on page 154 of 219. And which one is correct? So that's a couple of questions. And I've got some comments I'd like to make if I could after that, Madam Chair.
Certainly.
Mr Dudley in the first instance.
Okay, Mr Dudley.
Thank you for the question. I'll address the question through the chair. Certainly in regards to the high voltage tariff, it's a two-step investigation. The first step is to ascertain whether there is a business case to pursue high voltage tariff, and that is the first row. And then the second row is actually to look at a water and wastewater infrastructure to actually elucidate that particular requirement to confirm whether we can actually pursue it in reality. In regards to the AEC, my understanding, but I'll take it on notice to confirm, but my understanding that it's the combination of the HVAC system upgrade and also to install the air-cooled chiller. But I'll take it on notice to confirm.
I think the General Manager has some confirmation of that.
Yes, thanks through you, Madam Chair. The combination of those two projects for HVAC and air-cooled chiller is what's included in the draft budget, and we'll be clarifying that further for you.
Thank you. Councillor Van der Ven, you're happy with that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's still $165,000 difference between what's in our draft new initiatives and the total of those two in the Energy Savings Action Plan. So I wanted that clarified.
Yeah, the General Manager said that he will indeed do so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
If I can continue with maybe a few comments around...
we need to go to the person who moved the motion, so Councillor Mack, and then we can come back to you, Councillor Van der Ven, if that's all right. Councillor Mack, to open debate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in relation to this particular item, the item was originally was part of a service efficiency review in 2012 to 14, and during that period, Councillor Van der Ven was very strong during budget discussions about including photovoltaics or alternative sources of energy to put on our facilities, which at that point were there was a very small investment. I think congratulations to Councillor Van der Ven's initiative, and certainly the initiative of the councillors at the table at the time. I see the payback and the buyback as being significant in that the benefit to council, the benefit to the environment is quite significant. It's sometimes not about dollars, it's about making a difference. And I think without that initial conversation back when we were new councillors, I don't think it would have got to the size it has currently. And I really encourage us to continue this journey, and certainly consider battery installation and other alternative sources of energy. So I commend this particular report and congratulate the staff for initiating its activation.
Thank you, Councillor Mack. I note there's no speakers against. However, Councillor Van der Ven has requested to speak for the motion. Councillor Van der Ven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As part of support for this motion, maybe I can make a few comments. First of all, we seem to be a little fixated on this 5-year payback period, and on the basis of some of them being replacement of an asset that has that requires replacement. We're doing some items, but I'm not sure whether the 5-year payback period is something that we should be fixated on. If we look at on page 4 of 24 on our electronic copy, which shows table 3, all measures capital costs over the next 4 years is nearly $2.5 million. The cost savings per annum generated is still nearly providing us with a return of 8% on our invested money. On the basis of the fact that our current return on investments through our cash management program is around 3.07% or thereabouts. I don't think it'd be far from that. We're still looking at a really great return on these investments, and I'd like to actually be suggesting that if our capital allows it, that we should be investing more. If we're getting an 8% return on this investment, it makes sense to generate that return internally rather than having the money sitting in the bank or at a 3.07% current return. Now, I think in the near future, interest rates might go up, but they're not going to go up to anywhere near 8% in the short to medium term, I would have thought. Don't have my crystal ball right here. Maybe Mr. Finlayson has a crystal ball, but I would have thought that 3 to 4% was going to be the foreseeable future as far as our return on investment is concerned. The other issue for me seems to be that there would appear to be room to increase the size of some of our solar installations on our council properties on the basis of the savings generated, the fact that the cost of these systems is coming down, minute by minute, and that again on the basis of a return on our investment of about 8%, would indicate that not only would we be doing a good thing for our own operational costs, but we also would be making a significant contribution to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions at AlburyCity. So on the basis of those comments, I'm happy to support the current report, but I would like in future that we don't get fixated on the 5-year payback period, because I think that as I've explained or tried to explain, I believe that we have a bit more scope with the returns available, the cost savings available as a return, and obviously then a reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions over that period of time as well. And I think that's something that needs to be looked at in the next 12 months. So I fully agree with the stuff that we're doing in this 4-year plan, but perhaps it could be added as a 21-22 when next we look at this energy savings action plan. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor van der Ven, having spoken for the motion. I would like to ask a question to the most relevant member of staff, if I may, please. Page 11 of the report on the committee agenda. In the middle there, it talks about us establishing a designated energy and sustainability officer who champions energy management across the organisation. Can I ask if that would be a standalone and new position, or would that be a role taken on by an existing member of staff? Mr. Dudley.
Thank you for that important question. The Energy and Sustainability Officer was a key recommendation out of the Service and Efficiency Review. Shortly thereafter, we agreed internally to redefine the position description of the Sustainability Officer role, which is Mrs. Amber Rod, to include the Energy Management Framework key responsibilities. And that person, Mrs. Rod, is now the Energy and Sustainability Officer.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mack, I believe you're the mover of this recommendation. Would you like to close debate?
I think everything's been said. Thanks, Madam Chair. Happy to continue.
Thank you, Councillor Mack. I'll now put that recommendation as a motion to the committee, that being that Council endorse the Energy Savings Action Plan, and the second part being considering the implementation schedule in conjunction with the 4-year budget to the committee. All those in favour? Anyone against? That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We're moving on to the second report for consideration, the draft leasing and licensing of council property policy, which is on page 15.
There's been a slight adjustment to the recommendation based on
For the leasing?
information provided to
Yep,
council.
okay. I'll just get the General Manager to update us.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We had a late submission on the actual policies, so what's been provided on the screen now is an updated minor change to the earlier recommendation, which looks to just refine the definition of valuer under that clause 1.1 based on a late submission which was valid, circulated to councillors earlier today. Happy to take any questions if there are.
Thank you, Mr Zachnich. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the committee recommends to Council that Council 1 adopt the amended draft leasing and licensing of council property policy, including minor refinements to clause 1.1 bracket U, tabled at this meeting, and 2, the leasing and licensing of council property policy be placed on AlburyCity's public policy register.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury to second.
Happy to second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. Before I go to Councillor Thurley, can I ask Councillor Thurley and Stutchbury, would you consider adding a third dot point, and that we would thank the people who submitted feedback to the council for their submissions, and I'm happy to explain why if you would need me to. Councillor Thurley?
It's not a problem to me. I hope that's not a precedent that we're going to set, that everyone who puts in a submission has to be thanked at a meeting, but I don't have any objection to this.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury.
I tend to agree with Councillor Thurley that we don't want to individually thank every submission that comes in, but I'm interested to hear your argument.
Yes, certainly. That being the case, I'd like to explain that from reading the submission that was included in the documentation over the weekend, the tennis club had put considerable effort into making their submission. So that's why I wanted to acknowledge that in our motion. Councillor Thurley?
I'd rather not.
That's fine. Okay, thank you. Councillor Thurley to speak to the motion?
I don't think much needs to be said. It's a thorough document, and in fact, it was the latest submission that was the most critical submission in this policy, in that it corrected a minor error that was in the report, and I think the matter is clear and well put.
Thank you. There's no other speakers wishing to speak for or against, or indeed councillors wishing to ask questions. Councillor Thurley, are you happy if I put that motion? Yeah. Thank you. So to put the recommendation as a motion that we adopt the draft leasing and licensing of council property policy, including the minor refinements, and that the leasing and licensing of council property policy be placed on public policy register. All those in favour? Anyone against? That motion is carried. And we're moving on to reports for noting, of which there are none. Delegates' reports for noting, which there are none. Notice of urgent business. I haven't been made aware of any. There's no indication from around the table or confidential matters. Therefore, I close the meeting. Thank you very much, councillors.
Do I have to do this recording and webcasting of meeting statement as well?
Just recording of meetings. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Got the document.
Oh,
Should be there.
that one. So that one there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We've got to do it again.
Yes.
Welcome, everyone, to tonight's Engineering and Works Committee meeting. We'll go to recording and webcasting of meetings. This council or committee meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the council or committee meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this council or committee meeting, that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council or committee meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. We'll go to item 2, any conflict of interest declarations received? I have received none. Thank you, Mr Zachnich. None received. Apologies. We have 2 apologies. Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm happy to move the motion as printed if we could see it. Thanks. In
Thank
relation
you.
to apologies for Councillor Doxey and Councillor King
Thank you.
Grant them a leave of absence.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury.
Happy to second that, Mr Chair.
Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Chair, to move that they be received and noted, etc.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stutchbury.
I'm happy to second that motion, Mr Chair.
Thank you. Councillor 30, your light is on. And it shouldn't be? Okay, thank you. Do you wish to speak to this, Councillor Glacken?
No, thank you. I'm happy to reiterate now that I have the recommendation on the screen.
Okay,
For you if you would.
That'd be great, thank you.
So to move that the committee recommends to council that the minutes of the Engineering and Works Committee meeting held on Monday the 13th of March 2017 at 6:15 be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury, still happy to second?
Very happy.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Glacken?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Any matters arising from those minutes? No? I'll move on. EW 6, reports and minutes of committees and working parties. Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm happy to move that committee recommends to council that minutes, recommendations of the following committees be received, noted and accepted. A, minutes of the Albury Airport User Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 8th of March 2017. B, minutes of the Floodplain Risk Management Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 23rd of March 2017. And C, minutes of the Hume Zone Bushfire Management Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 26th of October 2016. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Thank you. It was just a slight, it was on Thursday, 23rd of March, not Tuesday, 23rd of March, but that's fine. Thank you. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. I'd like to second the recommendation as a motion, including the fact that the minutes of the Flood Risk Management Committee were held on Thursday, the 23rd of March. Thank you.
Councillor Mack, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr Chair.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Officers' reports for consideration, draft water and wastewater strategies. Councillor Stutchbury.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I would like to move that the committee recommends to council that council receive and note the draft Albury City Council Sewage Supply Strategy 2017 and draft Albury City Council Water Supply Strategy 2017, and that we move to place the draft Albury City Council Sewage Supply Strategy 2017 and draft Albury City Council Water Supply Strategy 2017 on public exhibition in line with the Community Engagement Plan, Water and Sewage Strategies. And lastly, in the event that no submissions are received, that the draft Albury City Council Sewage Supply Strategy 2017 and draft Albury City Council Water Supply Strategy 2017 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury. Councillor Thurley.
I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchbury, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I would indeed, only to say that I think these are two excellent documents. They're weighty. If they've been written on a paid per kilogram basis, then that's been a success. But they're also well laid out and they're strategic documents, and they are easy to read, simple to understand, and I think they're excellent documents that will serve us well into the future, and I commend the staff that prepared them.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, you had a question.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I would like to start by reiterating Councillor Stutchbury's comments, because it is an extremely good report, but one of the things it does is highlight a number of areas that are of some risk to council, and that the first one is the main pumping station, and the second one, and this is one I'd like to ask the question about. It mentions in the report that the sewer network is prone to large-scale infiltration during rain events, and that's, my understanding, fairly common with most sewage systems. But my question, probably to Mr Ferris, is, are there any significant areas of infiltration which have been identified, and are there any engineering works that can be done to avoid some of that, since infiltration is a significant problem with the pumping capacity?
Thank you, Mr Ferris.
Through you, Mr Chair, certainly those two items raised by Councillor Thurley are some of our main risks with regard to our sewer system. The infiltration, we're planning during 17-18 to do a comprehensive review of infiltration and identify those areas of major concern. That could be from ageing infrastructure, could be from stormwater entering the system either through illegal connections or through other means. So we'll certainly do some investigations during 17-18 to try and remedy and reduce the amount of infiltration that we currently have in our system.
You comfortable with the answer, Councillor Thurley? Thank you. Councillor Bracken, you wish to speak for the motion?
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to do so. I note there may not be anyone wishing to speak against this in light of the fact that you've offered me an opportunity to speak for. This is one of the very important things, or the water and wastewater strategies are some of the very important things that we as councillors need to deal with, in so much as we need to ensure that the city is well placed into the future, because water and sewer are so very, very important to our communities and really indicate that the city is well planned for and well prepared for not only the current requirements but also the future. And that's why the plans go out so significantly into the future. And I'm very conscious of the fact that the development work, the investigation, the strategies being brought to us are most significant in that everything changes. As the city develops, things change, and these plans enable us to work towards that future, noting that there will be some changes that do come along the way. This plan needs, therefore, to remain flexible to ensure that we can adapt as we move towards 2050, and this plan talks about that sort of time period in amongst the reports. So I commend the report to the other councillors. I thank the staff for the work they've done and indeed the consultants in the work that they've done towards this plan. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillor Stutchbury, do you wish to close debate on this? Okay, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item EWC 7.2, North Street pump station modification contract. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Happy to move the recommendation as a motion, that being that committee recommends to council that council accepts the tender from DeCourt Pumps for contract number 16/01837, the North Street pump station modifications in the lump sum of the amount $156,366.10, which includes GST, as a motion.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
I second that motion, Mr Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, that.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, thank you.
Any other comments? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. There are no reports, officers' reports for noting, no delegates' reports for noting. I have one item of urgent business. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Some weeks ago, the Murray-Darling Basin Authority put out a press release which said that River Murray flows may be variable in the lead up to Easter, and said that communities and visitors may need to plan accordingly. And at a Region 2 meeting, a motion was moved that the MDA should contact the MDBA to express serious concern about this matter as it affects tourism operators and so on. And I wrote a letter to the Chief Executive and also to the Commonwealth Environment Water Holder. And just today we were advised that the flows will be held at the levels they've been at prior to Easter. And we've also been granted a meeting to talk about future flows during Easter, so that the strategy can not only deliver irrigation water, but can also, as much as possible, protect tourism and recreational users on the river. So it was a great result for MDA, but thanks also to Ramrock and to the Murray River group of councils who pushed this point to the Murray-Darling Basin Authority. But it was a great response from them.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Very interesting development. I don't have any further items of urgent business. I don't have any confidential matters, so I declare the Engineering and Works Committee meeting closed at 6:37 p.m.